we see with the ultimate amount of clarity how unfit this orange orangutan is in office, how unfit he is to be the president. Trump was recently asked if he was going to visit the crash site in regards to this plane crash in the last hour. And he said, "What's the site? The water? You want me to go swimming?" That was his response when asked if he will be checking out the crash site, meeting with first responders. He is the leader of the free world. And after a train derailment under the Joe Biden administration, everybody was begging Joe Biden to be there. Literally minutes after the horrible terrorist attack in New Orleans, they were telling Joe Biden to be there. And when asked, since it is only about a 15-minute drive from where the White House is, he was asked, "Will you be visiting the site?" And his response is, "What, am I going to go swimming?" This is just the first 2 weeks of Donald Trump's administration. And in the first 2 weeks, we've had this horrible disaster where he has blamed it on DEI hires and women. We have over 600 violent criminals from January 6th that are now out on the streets. He has taken away the right for Medicaid, Medicare, Medicaid recipients, those companies to work with the pharmaceuticals to lower the cost of prescription drugs. So he's making it more expensive for everyday Americans to live. Just the first 2 weeks. And when we have so many families tragically this morning that are grieving and suffering, and my heart goes out to them because nobody should have to go through this, and their bodies found one by one in the water. They haven't recovered yet, from what I've seen, half the bodies yet. And while the investigation has just started and we have no idea, not even the investigators have an idea of exactly why this happened yet, Donald Trump has decided to blame it on DEI hires, just the way they blame DEI hires on the firefighters. This is the first 2 weeks of Donald Trump's administration. And what we are learning in regards to this crash, based on new information that's come out, is that there were 3 near misses right before this crash happened. And this chopper erratically moved back towards civilian flight paths. Now, I did tell you that when I saw this video, it appeared to me that it was intentional, but I don't know whether it's intentional or not. So if, and it is an if, and I want the investigation to be thorough, and I'm sure it will, if it is proven that this was done on purpose, will Donald Trump apologize? After blaming it on women and DEI hires, will he retract and say, "You know what? I was wrong"? Of course he won't. Did they apologize when they blamed Joe Biden's open border policy? And they blamed the New Orleans terrorist attack on a migrant? No, of course, when it was proven that this person who committed these horrible crimes was born in the States. Did Donald Trump ever retract? There's no accountability. Every single day, if it is proven that this was nothing to do with the DEI hire, which I'm sure it wasn't, every day he should be asked about this. "Sir, will you apologize? Will you say you are sorry for blaming it on DEI hires when, if in fact it is proven to be true that this was an intentional act by one or more pilots? Will you apologize? You blame this on Joe Biden. You blame this on Pete Buttigieg. You blame this on DEI hires. You orange orangutan adjudicated rapist, you. Will you apologize?" The answer will be no. Because that's what MAGA Republicans do. Whenever we have a tragedy and the loss of life, they try to blame it on migrants. When that doesn't work, they try to blame it on black people. When that doesn't work, they try to blame it on Joe Biden and Pete Buttigieg. The last person that anybody on the right will blame is Donald Trump. Now, I'm not one of those people. I'm not blaming Donald Trump for this crash. I'm not blaming Duff for this crash. I want a thorough investigation, like the families I'm sure want. How could this have happened? Why did it happen? Stop blaming it on black people. Stop blaming it on women. And do your effing job. Instead, he fires more gasoline into the flames while families are grieving. And he holds a disgusting, despicable press conference, and he starts to blame DEI hires. Ocasio-Cortez on social media said, I represent LaGuardia Airport as well as workers for JFK. Trump gutted the Aviation Safety Committee last week. Air traffic controllers, already understaffed, got Trump's buyout this week with a 1-week ultimatum to decide. It's not DEI, it's him and Elon too. Now that's AOC's opinion. But maybe he's deflecting and blaming it on DEI because he knows he's partially responsible. And in the moments of this collective tragedy, and when families are suffering, we see with the ultimate amount of clarity how unfit this orange orangutan is in office, how unfit he is to be the president. His lack of empathy for others is astounding. He has no humility and no human basic decency. He has no mental acuity, none, zero. And it has been on display since he got into public office, and quite frankly, before he got into public office. Pete Buttigieg has called Donald Trump's comments despicable. He is correct. He said we put safety first, we grew air traffic control, and had 0 commercial airline crash fatalities. One of Trump's first acts was to fire and suspend some of the key personnel who helped keep our skies safe. That is according to Pete Buttigieg. He is 150% correct. This man is an embarrassment. And the people that defend him and defend these statements in particular are an embarrassment. What would you think? God forbid, because I don't care what side of the political aisle you're on. I don't want this to happen to anybody. God forbid, what would you think? If somebody in your family had tragically lost their life in a plane crash, and then hours thereafter, maybe even they haven't even recovered your family member's body out of the water, the President of the United States blamed it on black people, blamed it on DEI hires without even knowing who the pilot is. What would you be saying to yourself? What would you say? Think. What would you say? Now, typically, if you're a MAGA bigot, regardless as if you lost a family member, you'd probably want to blame it on black people as well, if you have hatred in your heart. But for normal, everyday Americans, what would you say to somebody like that? Besides the grieving and the pain that I wouldn't wish on anybody, you would want a thorough investigation because you don't want this to happen to somebody else after it happened to you. That's the way normal people think. I call it upon the media and everybody in that White House press briefing room. You know, Newsmax and Fox News, they won't do anything. They'll coddle Donald Trump every day. He should be asked this question every day until he apologizes. Are you willing to retract your statement, sir, that you believe this was caused by DEI hires? Are you willing to apologize? Every day he should be asked this question, every day. But they won't. They'll forget it and on to the next tragedy where they'll blame DEI hires for that as well. It is despicable. I am tired of it. Aren't you tired of it? Aren't you tired of having this man in public life, period? Aren't you tired of this? I know I am. And this comes on a day where normally the biggest news of the day would be Kash Patel, Tulsi Gabbard, and Robert F. Kennedy Jr. And the Republicans will be bending knee, knowing that none of these three are qualified to be in that position, knowing that all three of those people are dangerous to the country, dangerous to our health, dangerous to our safety, certainly dangerous to our national security. But I would be shocked if at least two of them are not confirmed, maybe even all three. Because today we should be thinking about all those innocent people that lost their lives. I hope it was quick, and I hope they didn't have to suffer. Today we should be thinking about their families and their friends. We shouldn't be thinking about whether they're Republicans or Democrats. We shouldn't be thinking about what the color of their skin is or where they're from. There are Americans that lost their lives, innocent people that did not deserve to die. But if you watch or listen to conservative echo chamber radio, Fox News, Newsmax, they won't be criticizing Donald Trump for blaming DEI hires. In fact, some of them will probably agree. Well, guess what? It's not who I am. It's not how I was raised. And I feel horrible for the innocent loss of life, just like I did in New Orleans. It breaks my heart. And yes, it should have never happened. And I want a full investigation. We need to find out why it happened. Why? How? Let the people that are in charge do their job. And all Donald Trump did today was add fuel to the fire of the racism and bigotry and the DEI nonsense that is going on in this country, same which took place after the attack in New Orleans and the fires in California. This is the country we are living in now, where his cultish supporters condone it. 67 people are presumed dead. 67. And Donald Trump wants to blame black people. What type of country are we living in? And when I say make America white again is the slogan, not make America great again.